So the annual conference and general meeting of the Islamic Development Bank held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was a huge gathering, measured not only by the number of high-level delegates that ascended, but also the key global issues that were on the agenda at the meeting held just about a week ago. Aliogo is a public policy analyst, and he was in Riyadh for the IsDB summit and annual meetings and had reported on some of the key discussions for these day newspapers. Aliogo joins me now on our Rice Exchange for a post-event interview chat. Thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to the show, and welcome back from that very huge one. Well, when you talk about big development finance institutions in the world, we talk about the World Bank, the IMF, the ASEAN, I'm sure you're going to mention the Islamic Development Bank. It's quite big. It looks like the epicenter of the entire global Islamic finance, as it were. So what were the overarching focus of that summit for you?
So the Islamic Development Bank is marking the 50th anniversary of the bank. And then they've grown from 1973, when the bank was established, with 22 members. Now they have grown to 57 members, and then their capital base and financing and total approval has reached $1.82 billion US. So, and then there've been a lot of investments, across different sectors, from health to transport to infrastructure to climate financing. So there were a lot of discussions, but chief of the discussions were to look at investment opportunities across their member countries. And then let's concentrate on Africa and then narrow down to Nigeria. I'm
sure we have a number of African countries as members.
Yes, we'll have Cote d'Ivoire, we'll have Nigeria, we'll have many of the Islamic, Egypt, many of the Morocco, Algeria, and many of the Islamic countries in Africa that are members. Cote d'Ivoire got a financing approval of 70.46 euros, 70.46 euros.
Million euros.
Yes, million euros to drive investment across cassava and roots projects, And then Nigeria has been a beneficiary of, in terms of investment, ISDB. A lot of investment has gone in for Nigeria through ISDB. But chief of those investments is the $538 million investment that ISDB partnered African Development Bank and then IFAD, International Fund for Agriculture Development, to drive investment across the agro-processing zones in Nigeria. That's one of the major projects that ISDB has done.
Yeah, that was the export processing for about 22 states in Nigeria.
Yeah, 22 states in Nigeria.
Yes, agro-processing zones.
Agro-processing zones in Nigeria.
So ISDB, this is the bank behind it.
Yeah, so that's
in partnership with the AFDB.
AFDB and IFAD. So there were a lot of conversations around investment, around climate financing, around healthcare. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have been addressing the issue of polio, and then across many countries, they made mention of Nigeria, and then they talked about what they are doing in Afghanistan. And then there also the issue around climate financing, the issue of carbon credits and financing across the climate change value chain. So, and then they're also trying to mark their 50 years journey. Where are we? What have we done? We are trying to scale on what we have done across our member countries, across the investment amongst member countries.
Very interesting in terms of the holistic, overarching discussions. I'm looking at the coverage areas. Are there coverage areas? Yes, we find funding support from the ISDB and others. But there are other key areas that we should focus on in Africa. They're giving us funds, but we need to do a whole lot of things on the ground ourselves across sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, so let's narrow down to Nigeria. So for Nigeria, I had a conversation with the MD of Lotus Bank, and then she was talking about the need for Nigeria to get funding from Islamic Development Bank in the tune of $1 billion US. It will help to fix Nigerian infrastructure deficit. So that is just that's just a number, $1 billion US. It can help to address Nigerian infrastructure deficit. But in principle, we can get more than that. We can look at $10 billion US.
We can do 100.
We can do.
Yeah, we can do 100. So if you give us $100 billion, move the needle.
So she was talking about the need for Nigeria to get funding from Islam to fix the infrastructure deficit under this administration. There are infrastructure deficits we need to fix.
So Nigerians were quite visible in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, Nigeria was. And then Jazz Bank was able to secure a loan of $20 million, with the ISDB, one of the institutions of the ISDB.
Yes. I saw FCMB also had something over there with the ITFC.
Yes. So the point then, and then not just getting the funding, the $1 billion funding that she was talking about, the point was that there is need to monitor how these monies are being spent. And then away from that, so for me, the gains and the opportunities for Nigeria will be along the line of investments. We need to get this funding to drive investment across critical sectors. That's one. One of those critical sectors is ICT, tech. Now that tech is the new oil, we have recognized and realized the opportunities and the potential in the tech ecosystem. We can get funding to drive investment across the tech value chain. And then there are other critical sectors. If we do investment in any of the sectors, the investment should be able to pay itself. So if, for instance, we're taking road projects, we should have a road project that would have tolls, not just tolls, rest shops. So you generate funding from those tolls, it will be able to pay on the interest, it will be able to pay on the investments that is being delivered. So we don't just have investments that are white elephant projects, because that has always been the bane of several administrations.
So what you saw from the ISDB annual meetings was the fact that the private sector in Nigeria is working with Islamic Development Bank across various areas.
Yeah, they're working with
support.
they're working with the Islamic Development across. They want to drive investment. They want to see how. So the private sector partners that were there in Nigeria, for instance, like Lotus Bank, Jazz Bank, and the others that were there in Nigeria, that were there in Riyadh, we're looking at how to drive investment, how to attract investments into Nigeria, how to attract investment and build new bilateral relations and new trade relations with the bank. There are 5 institutions in the Islamic Development Bank, and these 5 institutions, they are there for investments. They are there to partner with any country, with any private sector partner.
Nigeria is reputed to be one of the frontiers in Africa when it comes to Islamic finance.
Nigeria, as a matter of fact, Nigeria have a permanent seat on the board of directors in the Islamic Development Bank. So we'll have a permanent
seat. That's quite big.
Yes, that's quite big. So, and then we joined in 2005, in June 2005. So for me, we have to look at investment, critical sectors of investment in our economy, and then we'll have to take a review. The projects we have done so far, what has been the progress? Is there need for more investment?
On the government side?
Yes, on the government side. Is there need for more investment? Is there need to discontinue it and redirect our focus? Because we need to get this economy back. And for us to get this economy back, we have to fix the infrastructural deficits. And then fixing the infrastructural deficit means that you have to focus on critical sectors. I just made mention of tech. It's one of the critical sectors that can catalyze growth in any economy. So the focus should now be directed to the non-oil sectors and the critical sectors. And then we should make sure that the investment should be monitored. We should track the progress of the investment from point A to point B and ensure that it's yielding return on the money invested on it.
Very interesting a scenario when you look at this. I'm sure there's a whole lot of work that we need to do on the macroeconomic side, on the government side, to meet what the private sector are shopping for around the world to get much needed investment. I think it's still a work in progress, as the case may be. We'll see what the next one looks like, what the results are when some of these funds begin to come in. Lotus, Jais Bank, and a few others go into private sector lending, whether it's in agriculture, infrastructure, like you said, tech is also top on the table, as it were. But thank you very much. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's good to have you back from here, from Riyadh. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Aliogo, public policy analyst and finance expert.